Welcome to a mini-series that I'm calling It's Not Cheating, It's a Strategy, where we look at some different strategies that you can use to make your lettering look its best. My name is Arneill and I am a lettering instructor, and I want you to ensure that your lettering is as perfect and clean and crisp as it can be, because that's all the difference between loving what you create and putting it in the recycling bin. Today, I want us to take a look at something that often happens with pens, and that is that they get used, which is perfect, right? Well, this is a used Tombow Feud hard nib pen, and this is one of my favorite pens. I use these all the time for my smaller scale lettering, for Bible journaling, for note-taking, in my bullet journal, all of those types of places. So that means that they are well loved and well used. And this is a new pen. And you can probably see a big difference in the tip of the pen, and that leads to our first It's Not Cheating, It's a Strategy situation, which is fixing up some of your lines. With this specific pen, I prefer using the well-loved version over the new one, because the new version has this pointy tip bit that, until I've used it for a while, doesn't go away, and it can tend to make my downstrokes look varied, which means that when you're writing, sometimes some of your downstrokes look thicker than others, and that can throw off your whole piece. That can also happen, though, as your pens are used more and more and they fray out a little bit, or they become just a little saggier, as things do over time. But that's okay. There is a fix, and it's not Spanx for your pen. Instead, it is going in and touching some of your lines up. It's not cheating, it's a strategy. So even just here, you can see a difference. These are the exact same pen, but the well-loved pen doesn't have as much contrast between the upstrokes and downstrokes, which kind of makes it easier to use because you don't see mistakes as easily. Whereas the brand new pen, there are a few mistakes that I'm hoping that you saw along the way. And I want to look at all of these different types of mistakes, so look at how you can fix them. Now, going back to your lettering and fixing it up is not cheating. You don't have to get it on the first try. I want to let you know that most lettering artists, if you see their one perfect video on Instagram, there are like 17 times that they did it before that all ended up just thrown on the floor. That is because no one expects it to be perfect all the time. And when it is, it's more of a fluke than a regular occurrence. So don't feel like yours needs to be perfect. Instead, these are the things you want to look for. The first thing is you want to look for any time where the downstroke is not as thick. Sometimes with a new pen, you don't necessarily know exactly how hard to push, and often you'll see little wiggles and wobbles toward the beginning of a word or a letter. So that, for instance, happens right here. And for this video, we're just focusing on downstrokes, one thing to fix at a time. So for those downstrokes, you can take the very tip of the pen, or if you're not 100% comfortable with using the very tip of the pen, take a micron, like a micron PN, which you have lots of control over, and you simply want to go in and straighten that line out. It's absolutely allowed. We want our downstrokes to look as crisp and clean as possible. The next type of downstroke that you want to look for are downstrokes where you didn't use enough pressure, not just ones that have their wibbles and wobbles. For instance, here at the beginning of the A, whoops, left it off. If that ever happens, or you're looking back at your work and you realize that you didn't fully push in an area, you can go back and redo that same line. But when you do it, make sure that you don't put the new line beside, instead you do it directly on top. That's because if you were to do your stroke and then you do another one beside, you're doubling the width. It's like 1 + 1 = 2 strokes. And that's what my real writing looks like. You don't have to have perfect writing to do brush lettering. That's proof right there. Real embarrassing proof. So as you're going to redo your line, make sure you do it right on top, put that pressure in, and get your downstroke thickness in there. Even if you need to go in and touch it up slowly over time, that's way better than going in and making it too thick by doing another line beside. Then you might also have areas where your lines don't match up perfectly. Weird how that happened too. If that ever happens to you, again, you can always go back and redo your whole line to fill it in. You just want to make sure you don't make it too thick, or you can come in with your micron pen and always go in and make it a little bit thicker. For instance, the curve of the E here, it can be hard to see, but if you squint, you'll notice that it is a bit lighter than the other lines on either side. That's when you want to come in with your nice thin pen and just thicken it up a little bit. That consistency will make a big difference. So don't feel like making these little après writing touches, perhaps, we can make it sound fancy like that, is something that you should not be doing. You can always go back in after the fact and touch your letters up so that you have nice, consistent strokes all throughout your word. Look for areas where the line might not have been fully filled in. Look for areas that are not as thick as other places, or areas where your lines haven't met up perfectly. And when that happens, you can either rewrite on the same line with the same pen, or grab one of your micron pens or another black pen and just go in and touch it up a little bit. Remember, it's not cheating, it's a strategy for you to have the best lettering possible. I've got more strategies coming your way, so make sure that you subscribe so that you don't miss a thing. I want you to feel empowered with your lettering so that you can go in and use these strategies to make your lettering the best that it can be. Happy lettering, and I'll see you again soon.